All right, let's get right into it. For decades, this has been a conflict fought completely in the shadows, but not anymore. Now it's all out in the open. So today, we are going to break down what's happening with this direct war between Iran and Israel. Wow. Okay, so this headline from February 2026, it's not just another news clip. This is a massive historical turning point. For so long, this conflict was all about whispers, secret assassinations, cyber attacks, fights through other groups, proxy battles. But now? Well, now those whispers have become a roar. We're talking direct military strikes, country against country.
So the big question is, how on earth did we get to this point? I mean, it is just a shocking turn of events, especially when you look back at the history. Believe it or not, this wasn't always a story about enemies. Actually, it's the story of how a really powerful partnership just completely unraveled and became one of the most dangerous rivalries in the world.
So to really understand what's happening now, we have to go back. It might actually surprise you to hear this, but Iran and Israel, they weren't always enemies. No, not at all. They were once really important strategic partners. I mean, look at this. It's a total 180. Before 1979, before the Islamic Revolution, Iran and Israel were basically on the same team. They saw the other Arab powers as a common threat, so they worked together. They were sharing intelligence, even military tech. But then, 1979 happened, the Islamic Revolution, and boom, everything changed. The new government in Iran just cut all ties and started backing all these anti-Israel groups, creating what they call the axis of resistance. And just like that, allies became bitter enemies. And look, this bad blood, it isn't just about different beliefs. It's become this high-stakes strategic chess match. From Israel's perspective, Iran getting a nuclear bomb is an existential threat. It's a red line they just won't cross. And for Iran, their network of allies, groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, that's how they project their power. It's how they push back against Israel and the US. And for decades, this whole game has played out in the shadows, right? We're talking assassinations, massive cyber attacks, sabotage, basically a war fought by spies. Okay, so this all leads to a really crucial question that everyone is asking right now. In this new, out-in-the-open war, who started it? Who threw the first punch? And while the answer is a lot more complicated than you probably think. Yeah, it's not a simple he said, she said situation. Why? Because for years, both sides have been hitting each other secretly. But if we're talking about the moment this whole thing spilled out into the open, the first direct state-on-state attacks that led us to where we are now, well, then the timeline gets a whole lot clearer. So, like we said, decades of shadow war. But then, check this out. April 2024, that's when the first real domino fell. Israel hits an Iranian consulate in Syria. I mean, that is a bold, very public move. Iran's response? It was historic. For the first time ever, they launched a direct missile and drone attack on Israel itself. Right then and there, the old rules were gone. Things got super tense, and then in June 2025, Israel hit back with a huge surprise attack on key Iranian military and nuclear sites. And folks, that was it. That was the point of no return. It led directly to the full-scale war we're seeing now. Okay, so now that they're in a full-blown direct conflict, the next obvious question is, who's stronger? How do these two militaries really stack up against each other? Let's actually dig into the numbers, the tech, the whole shebang, and see who has the advantage where. All right, first up, Iran. And just looking at the numbers, they have a huge advantage. We're talking around 610,000 active military personnel. That is a massive force. And it's really built to fight a long, grinding war, potentially on a few different fronts at once. Now contrast that with Israel. Their active standing army is way smaller, about 170,000 people. But their whole philosophy is different. It's all about speed and superior technology. And here's the kicker. They can call up almost 500,000 highly trained reservists in the blink of an eye when a war starts. But as we all know, manpower isn't everything. When you look at the money, the tables completely turn. Israel's defense budget is about double what Iran spends. That is a huge, huge gap. And what does that money buy? It lets Israel pour cash into advanced tech, research, and the kind of super advanced weapons that can literally decide who wins a battle. And you see this play out when you look at the actual hardware, the equipment. It's a classic case of quantity versus quality. So Iran has more tanks, sure, but Israel's are way more advanced. In the air, it's a clear win for Israel. They've got more planes, and they're just technologically superior. And it's the same at sea. Iran's navy is focused on its own backyard, controlling the waters nearby. Israel's fleet is smaller, but it's built to hit hard and deter major threats. But honestly, beyond all the tanks and planes and budgets, there's a huge wildcard here that you absolutely cannot ignore, and that's Israel's ironclad alliance with the United States. And this isn't just, a friendly phone call. We are talking about access to the best weapons on the planet, shared intelligence that's second to none, and a security guarantee that just completely changes the map for any conflict in the Middle East. So here we are. The shadow war is officially over. And as these two major powers clash out in the open, nobody really knows how this is going to end. But one thing is for sure. This isn't just a local fight. It's a powder keg that could set off a much wider war, one that could mess with global trade, energy supplies, everything. So the real question we're left with isn't just who's going to win. It's how will the shockwaves from this war change our world for years, maybe even decades to come.